Oh, there we go.
Ah,
There we go. Now we're in business.
how are you?
I'm doing very well. How are you doing?
Good.
Well, thank you very much for being here with me today on my little program. I appreciate to be honored and blessed with such greatness.
Ah, well, I'm happy to help out.
Oh, right on. Well, this is my TK and Drinks program. I'm not sure if you've seen it or not, but I like to do some interviews with a couple cats around the country and, around the world just to get a feel for what's going on in the mead industry, in the mead world, so to speak.
Yeah, no, I've seen a few of yours.
Oh, right on. That makes me a little honored. Again,
Well,
feel like I'm
you,
blessed by like real greatness here.
you did a few on Prairie Rose, so
Yes.
obviously had to watch those.
Well, I hope, yeah, I'd love to be able to pick your brain about a couple of those flavor profiles.
Sure.
So if anybody who's unaware of who we're in the presence of here, this is Miss Susan, I believe it's pronounced Ruud,
Yep.
and she is the president and head mead maker there at Prairie Rose Meadery there in Fargo, North Dakota, way up in the Great North.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if the Great North, but but I have the Northern Lights behind me.
Yes, I see that. I like that. I always love those different backgrounds people come up with. Those are always cool. You were amongst being the head mead maker and president there. You have a couple different honorary or not honorary titles, legitimate titles, and maybe probably a few honorary ones in there as well. You're a grandmaster beer judge with the BJCP.
Yes.
You've got your mead pen as well.
Yep.
And you've also have a master's degree in microbiology and immunology.
In microbiology, yeah.
Microbiology, okay, man, that's quite the impressive tenure there.
Yeah. No, well, I work at North Dakota State University also, aside from my meadery. So I do canola research.
Canola for like, I know I don't even know what canola is. I was always understanding that was like a type of corn, or it was a corn product or byproduct rather.
No,
No, okay.
canola is its own plant. It looks, if you see big fields that look like they're big fields of mustard, they're probably canola. It's in the mustard family. It'll be like a whole entire field of, usually in the northern part of the country. It's a big yellow field full of, big yellow flowers, and canola oil comes from canola plants, the seed of the canola plant.
See, now my ignorance is just showing through. That's so cool. Man, it'd be crazy to see a canola field next to like an alfalfa field with the color variants like that.
Yeah. Yeah, no. Yeah, canola, alfalfa is a little shorter, and yeah, but otherwise it looks similar sometimes, kind of.
I just think the cool, like that purplish blue color next to like the yellow color, probably
Yeah.
juxtaposition there. So you guys have been in operation there at Prairie Rose since 2014?
15, early May of 2015. We started planning in 2014.
I got you, with all the legal precedents and all that jazz.
Yeah, finding a location, getting everything going. Yeah, it takes a while.
Oh yeah, that's what I always hear. It's always all the back end stuff. The mead making part ends up being the easy part. It's dealing with the TTB and your state and federal regulations.
Well, initially we started out making mead as home mead makers in '96, and decided, we knew how to make it pretty well, and it didn't seem like it would be too much of a deal to bump up from a 5-gallon batch to making, but really stressful that first time. When you're going from 20 pounds of honey to 1,300 pounds of honey, and it's like, can't screw that up, or you're, it's a little nerve-wracking, but now it's like, no big deal.
Got you. I would imagine going from like a $200 loss to, a potential, $20,000 loss or something.
Yeah, a little stressful.
Larger. Yes, definitely would be stressful. So you guys have been homebrewing, you said, since '96?
Yep.
So you guys are from the old school, from the pitching yeast before or with no nutrients and heating up your honey and all that stuff?
When I started out, I had nutrients, but they all went in at the same time. Yeah, we did heat our honey and skim the scum and all that initially. And it probably took, because you put all your nutrients in up front, took closer to 6 months to a year to make a batch versus, 2 to 3 months now.
Yeah, I could imagine that would be a very lengthy process, but thank you for, pioneering the way for everybody else to be able to produce these great meads in that, shorter time frame, because without, your guys' efforts and knowledge, nobody else would have got this far.
Well, mine was, okay, we tasted it, and both my husband and I fell in love with it. And it's like, okay, I'm gonna make it. And we were making it a few weeks later. I think our first batch was October 12th, 1996. I know this because it was my parents' anniversary, and the couple that helped us came out and had made it before. It was their anniversary. So
nice.
And then, but we had that finished, and we did a 5-gallon batch, and we split it a few ways. So we had a traditional, and I think we had a strawberry rhubarb and a raspberry. So we made 3 flavor, 2-gallon batches of 3 different things, kind of adding the fruit later in the process. But that was, a good 6-8 months, and they were like, oh my God, these are good. And I decided I was never going to be out of mead again, because we drank all of those in, like a month or so. And it's like, oh crap, we're out of mead again. So I had batches going every other month just to make sure I'm never running out again. And I really have never been out of mead since.
That's a good mantra to live by. Never run out of mead. I could stand behind that.
Yeah.
So do you remember where the first place you ever had mead was? You said your first batch. What was the first time you had mead though?
A few weeks earlier.
Oh.
So our local homebrew club, friends of ours made it there and shared it, and we fell in love with it. It was like, oh my God, we can make this. And yeah, so from our local homebrew club.
Very cool. And it just took off from there, and you said you've never been without mead since.
Yep.
And you guys, how long, so you started in 96, how long before you started entering competitions?
Probably a year later.
Okay.
I'm trying to remember if we actually entered Mead a year later. Might have been 2 years. We had the local homebrew club ran a competition here in 97. And I can't remember. I know I won a bunch because we made beer also. We started, when I do something, I just go gung-ho. A little overboard, I know. So I think I entered 4 or 6 meads, and I won a medal with every one of them. Or not meads, beers. And or I honestly can't remember if I had a mead in that one. But I started winning shortly thereafter, like in Minneapolis at their homebrew competitions and stuff. And I've won in Denver and Colorado and in Kansas, and I think I said American Homebrewers Association. So I just kind of go nuts with a hobby.
I love it. I think that's awesome. If you're gonna do something, do it right. You guys jumped in.
Well, you get a lot of feedback on that. What should we change? And then I was a member of the American Homebrewers Association, so went to their conferences for a good 20 years. And you go to every mead talk, and so you learn a lot.
Right.
Just listen and learn and try new things.
Yeah, that's what I'm trying to do, is listen and learn and just try to absorb this wealth of knowledge that's now available to me. And it's a wild ride, I'll tell you what, man. There's a lot of information out there. There's a lot of seemingly misinformation, I guess, to put it out there. It's really hard sometimes to discern where you should and shouldn't be getting your information from.
Um, and some of that misinformation is not necessarily misinformation, but older information. And it is how someone made it at that time. And if you want to take the time and wait months, it will still make good mead. The newer stuff you can, I mean, it will make good mead, following the newer protocols, the TASNA and the, staggered nutrient, all that. You'll make better mead.
Gotcha.
Um,
Yeah, I get, like you said, it's not necessarily bad information. It's just previous information.
yeah, a little outdated on how you can make it a little quicker and better.
Gotcha. That makes sense. And if we weren't growing if it wasn't growing as an industry like that way, then I feel kind of bad, because without these steps where we're at now, we couldn't see the type of progress that has been, where the industry really made it to. And I see you drinking on something. Is that just a glass of water tonight?
Yeah, just ice water at the moment.
I
was thinking about getting a glass of mead before this, and I didn't get quite to it. It's like, oh, I'm out of time.
And no worries there. Just drinking a lemon hibiscus here from Brimminghorn.
Ah, that sounds good. John makes good mead.
Yeah, I love not everything I've had from them, but everything I've had from them so far has definitely been really awesome stuff. So I did do a review on some of your stuff, and I'd love to pick your brain about a couple of those flavor profiles. The strawberry rhubarb one, and then the orange chocolate one. So
Okay.
that strawberry rhubarb one, I love the flavor you had, the earthiness of the rhubarb you got in there. I grew up in Washington State, and rhubarb must grow where you're at too, pretty naturally.
Yeah.
And I grew up eating strawberry rhubarb pies and everything like that, and it was just
that was my inspiration for that mead, was strawberry rhubarb pie.
And yeah, like I said, the naturalness of the strawberries, the true flavor of the rhubarb that came out, I hats off to you for that one. I really like that flavor profile. Certainly, going back and watching my reviews, and that was fairly early into my journey, and it's like, you don't know what you don't know, and I still realize that I don't know anything. It's like, what I don't know could fill the Grand Canyon 100 times type of thing. And but yeah, I was a real fan of that strawberry rhubarb one. It even when it was off dry, it still had a higher perceived sweetness, and everything like that. So how do you put that rhubarb in there? Do you do that in primary and post?
No, it's closer to the end of fermentation. It's not completely done, but near the end of fermentation.
I gotcha.
And it's all rhubarb juice rather than rhubarb chunks. And you freeze the rhubarb, heat it a little bit, and as soon as it warms up, I mean, it's not hot, but 120 degrees maybe, all the juice after being froze just sinks out. Whoa. So you just squeeze out all the fiber for the most part and keep the juice and dump that in.
Gotcha. And then I'm sure you used real or whole strawberries, or was that more of a strawberry juice as well?
No, those full strawberries.
Full strawberries on that.
Fresh grown, picked from the vine, pretty much.
And now, how close to your original, or the first one that you made, say, back in '96? You mentioned strawberry rhubarb was one of those ones. How close is the current flavor profile to that one?
Probably a little lighter, actually, because we had that pretty intense.
Is this those, or is like just the flavors less intense?
The fruit and stuff is less intense and was probably drier back then. Or the fruit was more intense but drier.
Oh.
Didn't have the sweetness. I mean, I think our current one is somewhat dry, but it has some background sweetness to it, whereas the other one our first one was much drier, I'd say.
And has that one been one that you guys have consistently made, or you've consistently made over the years, or is that one kind of that just here and
no there? I made it a couple of times, but not a lot. I've just worked on it now I mean, where I've got it now, I kind of like it better than the first one, although it did well in competitions way back then.
As seems like it's done well on competitions fairly recently, within the past 5 years or 6 years.
Yeah, we've gotten some medals on that one.
And that's much closer to the current, or that is the current recipe.
That's the current, yeah. Once we haven't changed that at all since we've opened.
Is that one of your like higher traffic meads, or is that like what destination?
Yeah, it has been. It kind of like it goes in streaks. Well, we've made that batch 3 or 4 times. So we try and do it annually.
Okay. Well, I'm definitely glad I got to try a bottle of it then if it's something that's not regularly stocked. Because
No, it's been in and out, but right now we have some. I think, yeah, we're running low again, so we'll probably next spring make it again. Or
yeah, you guys tend to have a larger flavor selection than a lot of other cats do.
yeah, well, it's like I'll make them, but then every batch I make 3 flavors. Because I'll do a 400-gallon batch, transfer out into smaller tanks and early in fermentation, and then I add the fruit right then,
Okay.
and then I'll go spicing at the end.
And do you?
So yeah, every couple months I can get 3 batches done.
I gotcha. And do you always add your fruit into your primary after you split it there, or do you is there certain fruits that you only add into secondary or post?
Well, I do, well, everything I do in primary, I may add more in secondary for
Okay.
complexity.
Gotcha. But
It varies to what I'm doing.
but all the fruit you use has been in fermentation though. It's not just.
Yes, yeah. And even when I say secondary, it's not completely done fermenting.
Oh.
I'll be tasting it throughout. It's like, okay, it needs more of this, and I'll add more.
Yeah.
Or some fruits early on give you a certain flavor, but if you put them in later, give you a different flavor.
Right.
So I kind of like doing both areas just for the complexity of it.
Yeah, there was another guy doing YouTube videos, a home brewer, and he did a video not too long ago. It was banana 3 ways. He did banana in primary, banana in secondary only, and then banana in both, and did a taste test just to see what he preferred and what the differences were. And yeah, it was cool to see how the different phase, adding the fruit in the different phases produces different effects. Different mouth feels, different
Yeah,
flavor
and it
profile.
does. And that every fruit is going to give you a slightly different flavor where you add it.
Right. And one thing I'm learning is the difference between the flavor of the fruit and then the flavor of the fruit after it's been fermented, because
Right. There's a definite difference there.
exactly. And the one thing I've learned, and I'm learning every time I try it, is I do not like anything orange fermented. Orange blossom,
Really?
orange chocolate mead, anything orange. It comes off with this really artificial flavor that I just don't care for, and I have no idea why it is. If it's the real oranges, if it's orange juice or concentrate, or I know I don't like zest of any type in there. It's very
Interesting.
yeah. Because so
Every person perceives slightly different
right.
in all of those.
Yeah, and so I don't know what my palate's thinking there, but it's definitely not on board with all that stuff. So the chocolate orange one you did is one of your better sellers, or is it a flagship that you guys do?
No, we did that for the holidays. We have people that absolutely love it and come and get it, and other people don't care for it. So
Gotcha. And was that made with real oranges, or was that concentrate or juice, or?
it was a blood orange
There it is.
puree.
Blood orange. Okay.
Yep.
Got you. And then what was that, like Belgian candy syrup or
No,
cocoa nibs?
cocoa nibs. Yep.
There it is, cocoa nibs. Got you. Yeah. Okay. So yeah, I don't know. I would love to taste it there on tap, or if you guys had it kegged or something to get a, get another taste of that.
We
especially-
only bottle. We don't usually keep any of our higher gravity meads on tap.
Oh, okay.
We've got a couple now. We're starting doing more session meads. Those will be on tap.
Oh,
But
okay. So this whole time,
we just bottle everything.
you had that tap room. You guys have been doing bottle pours for everything.
Yes.
Wow. Okay, that's intense.
Yeah. Well, it's not necessarily a tap room. It's more of a wine tasting room.
Gotcha. Yeah. I haven't been to a meadery that's set up in that fashion yet. I mean, I guess there's a couple places I've been to that have only a few number of taps, but man, yeah, that's so cool that you guys just, bottle everything, pour it right there, and just give them the personal attention and love.
Oh yeah. Well, that's what they're gonna buy it is out of the bottle. So
Yeah. And do you work there in the tap room as well? I mean, because I know you work there at the university. And
yeah, occasionally my husband does more of the tasting room stuff.
Gotcha. Okay.
But yeah. Sometimes I'm in there, most of the time he's in there.
Gotcha. And you guys have been obviously survived through the whole COVID experience and all that jazz. And you guys started a bottling club or a bottle club in that.
Yeah, we've had a bottle club going for a while.
Okay. And did you guys ramp that up during COVID, or is it?
We had a few more, but yeah, it hasn't. And we've got plenty of people ordering, so, but I always can use more. It's actually a pretty good deal.
Oh yeah, anytime there's a bottle club, I always try to encourage people to take advantage of that, especially if you're buying their meat on a regular basis. That is silly not to.
Yeah.
And then a lot of places, offer the exclusive deals or, discounted deals and all that type of stuff. So yeah, there's definitely no reason not to be in the bottle clubs.
Oh, so yeah, and I love the customers that want to be in bottle clubs because they come in, they order, they get a quarterly shipment, and they help us out. They get a good deal.
Yeah.
Guaranteed income.
Definitely guaranteed income on that. So it's my understanding you're a big fan of the 71B yeast. Is that correct?
That's our main yeast. I'm starting to do a few little 5-gallon batches with a few others to see how they work, but I've got my system is all set up so I can chill well. 71B does better, I think, if you can cool it down to say 65 degrees. But if I'm doing smaller batches, I don't have cooling capabilities for those, so I have been kind of playing around with other yeast.
Yeah, I started my first home brew back at the beginning of the month I think on the 3rd, and I was using Kvike yeast or Kvik yeast, whatever.
Oh, okay.
And because I live here in Phoenix and I don't have temperature control for where I have to keep my yeast test, I needed something that was going to be able to tolerate, 85, 90 degrees. And it's plugging right along. And I hear so many things about Kvike yeast, fermenting out really fast, getting down to 990 like in 48 hours or 72 hours. Yeah, mine's been going for I think I'm coming up on like 19 days, 18 days, and it's still just plugging along slowly. Gravity's drop every couple days. It's dropping a couple more points.
Oh,
so
and there's so many different Kvike yeasts, so
true.
It may depend on which one you're using.
Yeah, but it's fun. It's a wild ride. I want to go in there and toy with it and tinker with it and watch it and play with it. And I know the best thing to do is just to leave it alone and let it do its own thing and not shake it up.
Oh, but it's so much fun to watch it ferment.
Oh, it is. It reminds me of watching a lava lamp,
Yep. You lay down on the floor and just sit and watch.
Watch the mead, think about it and get lost in the mead. Oh yeah. Yep. That's definitely happened over just in the past couple days. My wife just laughs at me and shakes her head, but I think it's a cool hobby that you can. It's it's science, it's art, it's, you know, you get to do art class. It's like 3 or 4 different types of classes all at one time. Math, it's super fun.
Yes, I agree with you.
And so how much has your degree in microbiology played into your mead making aspects? Is there anything that you think you had it say an advantage on, or just like a step up on?
Well, yeah, yes, I do understand sanitation very well, which is a very key component to making mead. You don't want to throw in a bunch of fruit. I probably overly clean my fruit and things like that, just because of my knowledge of what could be on there. I don't leave things to chance. Um, Other than that, I also just understanding early on, understanding the process before, I didn't have to think about what is this yeast doing? What is yeast? I knew all that ahead of time. So
Gotcha.
those kind of things, just the science behind it.
Would you say that sanitation is a big problem that a lot of home brewers have? I don't know if you follow any Facebook groups or any different social media groups or anything like that, but I see a ton of people out there that get like infected meads and they show mold on the top of their stuff, and it just boggles my mind with the amount of information there is about sanitation and how important it is that that stuff is, you know, you still see it on a
Well,
regular
and
basis.
some of that it comes from some of the more basic recipes that were available 20 or 30 years ago, and there's, people, those are still out there. It is pretty easy to, if you get a good, you can just start out and throw all of your stuff in, and if you have enough good yeast and nutrients, the yeast is going to take over, and most of the other organisms aren't going to grow in there because yeast will go more acidic and kill that off, and not a problem. But there's always that chance. Even on, commercial batches, there's always that chance.
Yeah.
Makes me very nervous. So I tend to be very careful on, I mean, we filter our water. We don't have sanitized or boiled water, but we do carbon filter everything. We will quick run our fruit. We'll rinse them quick with peracetic acid just to try and clean off anything. Usually we're adding our spices at the end. So at this point, the ferment pH is low. There's a little bit of alcohol in there. So I haven't worried too much about that. Although anything that it comes in, the sack that we put the spices in, all that's already been pre-sanitized.
That's so cool that you
I
guys.
don't stir anything with every utensil is cleaned and sanitized.
Yeah, you've definitely got a grip on the sanitation aspect and keeping everything under control. Where would you say, then would you say would be a lot of home brewers, like their biggest point of improvement? If you could, just tell every home brewer to their inbox or something, hey, here's the quickest, easiest thing you could do to improve the quality of your home brews.
Probably mostly using enough yeast so that the yeast takes off really fast. Making sure you're using sanitized water, and sanitize all your vessels, whether you're cleaning it with chemicals, Star San or something like that, or boiling water even. Clean everything. But if you're using a glass carboy, you probably don't want to use boiling water, just for safety issue. But yeah, just making sure everything has been cleaned, sanitized. Don't stick your finger in. Oh, is the temperature of this cool enough? That's not the way to do it. thermometers are a good thing. Things like that.
Use your thermometers, use your hydrometers. Let's
Yeah.
take a look.
And these are people do. It's like, oh, well, that's a hydrometer. Oh, I've got to buy one of these. It's $10, you know.
Yeah.
But it does seem like some people are overwhelmed by the science of just having to read that.
Yeah,
But
that is.
it is pretty simple.
But I guess it's the fact that people, you know what, if you can't read it and the fact that you even know that you're supposed to be using it and you're using it, I think we'll call that a win, put that in the win category.
Yeah, they're trying to learn, and I'm happy to help them learn.
Yeah, and that's exactly it too. It needs to be helping people learn, not ostracizing people for what they don't know.
Right. No, I understand. I have a fairly good science background, but
I would say so.
if somebody's coming from the accounting side of something, they have no science background. So
Yeah.
helping them learn how to use that equipment is probably a good thing. And letting them know that it's not that hard. These are simple readings.
Right. Yeah, definitely needs to be that way. What do you guys have coming down the pipeline as far as like any unique flavor profiles? Do you have anything coming down for like the holiday season getting ready to approach?
No, right. Well, we have a new grape mead coming that's a little bit drier for those that like the drier side of things. That is one thing I get. Well, people will comment that, oh, everything's semi-sweet or sweet. We want something drier. So we do have a new drier mead coming. We have what I would call is we're calling our honey seltzer session style mead raspberry lime. So that'll be about 7% alcohol, right? Rather than on the high, because most of ours are 12.5%. Little higher than what a seltzer would really be, but
Gotcha.
Way more approachable and drinkable. So
you guys canning those for sale or just have it
we're looking at canning them right now. We're just going to have them on tap.
Gotcha. Yeah, those canning setups are ridiculously expensive.
Yeah, well, we've got some of that lined up, so it'll eventually come. It's just getting it all, the whole system and getting labels and.
Yeah, as somebody who's not regularly looking at that type of equipment, I take a look like, oh my goodness.
Yeah. There's some more portable canning lines out there that, or you can just get the one and do one can at a time, which we may look at initially.
Oh yeah, that's how they do it down like the craft beer stores and stuff like that.
Yep.
That single can the crowlers and all that stuff.
Yep.
Hey, you can definitely do that, man. But that's cool. You guys got the draft stuff going in the sessions.
Yep.
So from somebody who's been in the industry for, to see where it's come from and where it's going, where do you see the future going? I'm interested to get new mead makers take, established mead makers takes on where they think the industry is going.
Well, the one good thing is there are more people beginning to know what mead is. So that helps a lot. If you look back 5-10 years, there were a lot of people that didn't know what a cider was. You walk in and beer store and there'd be a cider on top. What's a cider? They had no clue. So hopefully that'll keep growing and mead will become more known. And there are way more meaderies now than there were 10 years ago. So my hope is that, and we're working on it, is actually getting mead its own category instead of we're licensed as a winery right now. And we have to follow a lot of wine rules, which don't make any sense for mead. So hopefully we'll get the TTB to adjust their mead rules and what how we can label our stuff and things like that. But
Yeah.
just getting the public knowledge of what mead is a big thing.
Yeah, the AMMA does the tries to deal with or work with like the legislation and stuff, or with the
Yeah.
TTB trying to, like you said, give mead its own categorization.
Yep.
And hopefully with that, less stringent regulations on like ingredients and recipes and
Yeah, well, and the ingredients are where they're all there, but how we can label them on our label.
right.
For instance, my wine label, I can't put one that has grape in it. I can't put what grape is in there. Yep, you cannot list that on your mead label.
Oh,
Yep, so if I pick a particular, say, I want to add Merlot grapes to my traditional, so I have a piment made with Merlot grapes. I can't put that there's Merlot grapes in there.
wow.
Yep.
That a TTB regulation or no,
That
the
is-
cola thing, right?
Yeah, that's all in that. You can call them red grapes or whatever, Oregon grown red grapes, yeah. But you cannot put what grape it is.
That that unfortunately sounds about right. So there was a meadery here in Arizona, drinking horn up in Flagstaff. They wanted to make a root beer mead and call it root beer. Well, guess what? They can't call it because there's no beer in it.
Right.
So yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, it seems like
Well, but I think they could put root beer flavored.
they could put root beer flavored mead. They opted to go with root beer, like if you're from Boston or something on there. Yeah.
But I had that on one of mine, and our lime mint is our latest mojito.
Yeah.
I had to put cock. I can't put, because it's got the lime and mint in there. I couldn't call it mead. I couldn't put mojito unless I could put cocktail, wine cocktail or honey cocktail. I mean, it's a lot of. It's like, but this is what it is, and they argue with you, but you can't put that. It's like, but that's what it is.
And it seems like the breweries, the beer breweries, don't have nearly as strict as regulations
No,
on.
they don't.
Some of those labels are just wild.
Oh yeah, breweries have way more flexibility of what they can put on their labels. They don't have to put every ingredient on their their formulas are the same, but their labels are way more open, and
Yeah,
it's a pain.
it is.
But someday it'll work out.
Right, and that's the goal. Is you can already see the advancements that the industry's taken from when you first got into working with the AMMA and everything. So I can imagine that there's a future in these hopes.
Yeah, well, there's been progress along the way, but it's always slow.
Unfortunately, bureaucracy moves at the speed of half the speed of smell.
Yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately. Oh, so okay. Do you guys have a barrel aging program there now, or any?
We've done a few barrel aged meads. We've got actually 2 of our barrel aged have been there and died out, or have sold out. We had a bourbon barrel aged mead and a gin bottle barrel aged. I think both of those are gone. All we have left right now is our whiskey barrel. So we have some in whiskey barrel, but we do have some bourbon barrel in the barrel right now. So hopefully that'll be sometime this winter released.
Nice, definitely be on the lookout.
Mostly when I get time to actually transfer it, time and space to transfer it out of the barrel into the tank, filter it, and label. And
Well, I'm sure I'm sure time and space are your biggest enemies.
Yeah, pretty much.
Constantly battling against those. Well, I mean, if you're working full time, and then everybody knows running a meadery is more than a full time job.
Well, yeah, it's just time and getting transferred and things, but I think that should be out this winter sometime.
And then you guys do farmers market, at least one farmers market, right? A couple different
Yep. We have the farmers market every Saturday all summer long till the end of October.
ones? Okay. So it says, oh yeah, I guess you're probably not going out to a farmer's market there, and
Well, it's in downtown Fargo. It's kind of cool. We've got they've got all the vegetable booths and all that, and but then there's also some craft booths. There's some food vendors, 4 or 5 breweries, wineries, cideries there every week. So
See,
it's kind of fun.
now that's one thing that I've come to find interesting is the different states' regulations on who can and can't go to like a farmer's market. Like here in Arizona, you can't sell alcohol at a farmer's market.
Oh, no, we can sell it by the bottle to go, plus we can sell drinks as during the market time. As
Holy
long
crap.
as they keep them in the market area.
Wow. So basically every Saturday it turned into a little beer garden over there.
Yeah, it is kind of fun, and we have live music going, and
Gotcha.
it's kind of a come relax. Some weekends they'll have things for kids to do. They do some food making demos, and yeah, it's kind of cool.
Do you
Pretty nicely thought out farmers market.
and do you guys like jive or like do any collabs with any of the other like breweries or meaderies in the area?
I did some collaborations with one over in Moorhead, Junkyard,
Oh, yeah.
where they made a braggot. We did another one too. I'm trying to remember.
The Junkyard's got some good
Where?
stuff.
Yeah, we did one at a brewery that's now no longer in business, Flatland. We did they did the braggot. That was kind of fun.
Have you guys?
But it's kind of hard
Oh.
in a sense to do because we can't do braggots at our facility. So
Yeah.
uh,
Are you guys fan of Dreckers there in town?
yeah, I like Dreckers. They're good.
I would love to see a Dreckers Prairie Rose Braggot collab. Those cats their beers are something else.
They are. They do make some good. I would say every one of the breweries in town does some pretty decent stuff.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Yeah, that whole area, as far as I'm concerned, is like one of the hotbeds for great craft alcohol in general.
yeah.
Minnesota, North Dakota, Wisconsin, Michigan, that whole area just slammed with rocking places.
Oh, there are. It's like I can't even get to all of them. It's like you don't have time to go try everything anymore.
That's a good problem to have. There's so much good stuff here. I can't get to it all.
The worst part is you just don't have the time.
Right.
It's like
Yeah, exactly. Being able to get out and explore all the cool fruits of everybody's labor.
Right.
Oh man.
I do have that same shirt you have, only on in black.
I know. That's kind of why I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw you wearing it, and my wife saw it on Amazon and said, grab that one.
All right. Yeah, it's a nice shirt.
Yeah, I had to get it in purple because purple's kind of my color, but
Is
yeah,
that purple? It looks blue on the screen.
that's my freaking light that I got in here is all color changed. But yeah, no, it's like supposed to be like a royal purple color.
Okay. Looks like bright blue.
Yeah, definitely does look. I just looking at the monitor, it's like, damn, it does look blue.
That's what Zoom does to us.
Oh yeah, yeah. I pull up the camera, and then when I go to actually record, it changes everything. Because like when I just look at it before you show up, like you can't see the green and my walls. It's just the background. Then it goes to the record version. It changes the whole camera setup and everything. I was like,
There's a little bit of green on the edges.
yeah, it is what it is. I'm not gonna freak out about it too much. I got bigger things in my life to worry about than my set.
This is why I do a background, because mine is just too. I've got green walls and the light behind me, and yeah, it doesn't.
Yep. Yeah, definitely doing the. I never got into doing those. I always my kids had to do Zoom last year for school and everything like that, and they weren't allowed to have them on for the on
Oh,
for because it would take there was all the different kids and the program wasn't
too
loaded.
much bandwidth.
Exactly. So then I had this going up, and my son was sitting right here for his school, and all his friends were freaking out. I was like, "You need to turn your background off." He's like, "It's my wall. I can't turn it off."
That's good.
It was fun.
Well,
They got a kick out of that.
I find if you can't, that's why I do a background. It's like, well, the house is a mess. You got to find an area where nobody can find the mess.
Oh yeah, yeah. I got my 9 to 5. I get home. I got about 50 minutes to get the camera set up and everything set up. And oh yeah, it's like a regular 3-ring circus over here. I feel like I'm running around like on the freaking Benny Hill show.
Yeah.
What would you say is the best mead that you've had in general? Commercial, homemade, one that just sticks out is, this was real top-notch stuff.
That's so hard. There's so many good meads out there now.
How about maybe not one of the best of ones, but like one of your favorite ones?
Aside from my own,
Of course, gotta be impartial. Or you gotta be partial. But if you have to be impartial.
my favorite meads are truly just a traditional mead. I like really nicely made traditional meads.
Yep.
And I generally like them somewhat, semi-sweet, because I want to taste the honey. Semi-sweet, but I don't like them too sweet where they get just cloyingly sweet. I want something I can drink. So, and there are a lot of so it's hard to pick between ones that a specific meadery, but that would be what I would say I really like the best.
Gotcha. Yeah, I'm a big fan of traditionals myself. I've had on my show, I've reviewed almost 80 different ones, and in person I've only had probably about 3 or 4 times that many, which again isn't that many. I mean, less than 200 meads, and you see 200 meads in one day at a competition,
Yeah.
So my knowledge base is incredibly minuscule, but I enjoy the complexities that single variety traditionals can bring out. It's so cool to see all the different flavors, and it's just from the process.
Yeah, well, and just the honey.
Yeah.
You get every different honey can make a traditional slightly different, but probably my favorite traditionals are maybe things like orange blossom or meadow foam. Man, I love the flavors that come out of meadow foam honey. That kind of vanilla, chocolatey, and it's just from the honey.
Yeah.
Tupelo makes a phenomenal traditional also. But there are so many other ones. It's like I wouldn't turn down any of them.
No, I'm in the same boat. I've yet to have a Tupelo honey traditional or meadow foam yet. I've had an orange blossom. I've had a mesquite. Actually, I say my favorite I've had so far was a palmetto blossom honey that Space Time Mead and Cider Works in Pennsylvania made. That was so it tasted like you were sitting at a campfire. It had these kind of smoky, earthy notes to it, and a little bit kind of pinesy, woodsy type thing. It was just
it's got that nice earthy background, I would say. Although I will say our clover, I really do enjoy that. It's got that little bit of, it's very light, but it's cinnamony and floral.
That,
I
yeah,
like that. And I've had other clovers I've really enjoyed. Um,
I think clover honey is a good, just like daily driver honey, just a good
yeah,
one to have around for all general purpose uses.
yeah, but it makes a phenomenal traditional, yet, yeah, it works very well with almost all fruit and spice.
And you guys get all your honey there sourced locally from North Dakota, correct?
Yes, it's all from apiary about 20 miles south of Fargo.
Oh, wow. And have you gotten anything just like wild from them? If they, I don't know if they ship their bees or truck their bees, say like
Um,
California for the almond season or anything like that.
yeah, they do take theirs to the almond groves. They don't really keep any of the almond honey, which is fine with me. I'm not a real big fan of almond blossom. I have been, I, when I used to homebrew, one of the apiaries here would not the one we're getting it from, would take it to the orange blossom in California. And so I would get a lot of orange blossom from them. Uh, but they have kind of quit doing that. The problem of taking it to the orange blossom or orange groves, what I found from a lot of the apiaries locally is that since it's such a distance, unless you have someone there watching your bees all the time, they just come in and spray insecticides
Yeah.
and you lose your whole crop. They'll give you less than 24-hour notice.
Yep.
Oh, it's been a little hard to find. I would love to be getting from the local apiaries orange blossom, but very few of them take them to the orange groves anymore.
And same.
Our apiary, I do have a basswood traditional, which is kind of nice. It's totally different. It's earthy. It's got some lemon notes, kind of minty notes from the basswood.
Nice. Yeah, I've got a basswood traditional that my buddy's saving for me. I've yet to try it yet. That's another one that I hear has a great, a single variety profile.
Yep. And it I like it. My husband hates it. uh, so I think I mean, it is more in your face, that earthy quality. So
Gotcha. It's kind of like buckwheat honey. It's very like diversive. It's either you like it or you don't type of thing.
yeah, I think so. Although I really do like buckwheat honey also. I
See,
mean,
that's another one that I hear people all the time are again, it's one of those like divisive ones.
yeah, see, and I find buckwheat extremely intense. Um, I like it with certain fruits, just that with buckwheat. I think otherwise as a traditional, I almost like it blended and like 25% buckwheat, because that it still overpowers almost any other honey at
Yeah.
about 25%. So
Do you do you find it easier to work with different honey variety, or do you find it that different honey varieties are easier to work with based off of like their textures from the like I've always heard that mesquite blossom honey is one that crystallizes very quickly and after it's jarred and stuff like that. Like at the farmers market here, I get a ton of mesquite blossom honey, being here in the desert. And I took me 2 or 3 different visits before I found 2 jars that were two 36-ounce jars that were still liquid and were not just almost solid crystal.
I you can just put it in a water bath and hot water and it'll liquidate again,
Yeah.
which
Oh,
is
definitely.
very easy to do.
Yeah, I was
Yeah.
just I was just curious if there was any, if you'd noticed like, say darker honeys crystallize quicker or, I mean, because you've worked with honey for.
Any true, the majority of real honey and that's never been diluted with something or heated up to keep it from crystallizing. Almost all honeys. There's only about 2 varieties of honey that won't crystallize because their fructose content is a little higher, and that's Tupelo and what is it? Low, I can't remember the other one right off.
Gotcha.
But most honeys will crystallize if they're true honey.
Just raw, unfiltered, just real.
Yeah, they're gonna
unadulterated honey.
crystallize fairly fast.
Gotcha.
So if you're getting crystallized honey, be happy about it.
I mean, take it as a quality stamp of approval.
Yeah, it is real honey at that point. It hasn't been diluted. I mean, guarantees it hasn't been diluted with corn syrup. It hasn't been overly heated to blow off and everything pulled out of it. That's good. So yeah, I buy all of my honey in barrels. They come in solid. They
Nice.
are 100%
Bricks.
pretty. Yeah, they are hard when we wrap them and we heat them to no more than 100 degrees.
Yeah.
We just heat them up and slowly heat them. It takes about 4 or 5 days to decrystallize them.
Yeah.
I don't heat them really hot right away to get them liquid. Slow heat, so we don't blow off any of the really good honey aromas, don't destroy the good qualities of the honey.
All the honey terpenes.
Yeah.
Right. Low and slow, just like a good barbecue.
Yep. And yeah, and then just as soon as they're probably still slightly crystallized when we're putting them in, but then we just adding them to 100-degree water at that point and letting them mix, and we'll mix them for a good half hour, 45 minutes or more to get them all mixed in and then transfer them to our fermentation tank.
Every time I'm lucky enough to get in to go and see the inner workings of a meadery, it always I say surprises me, but it never ceases to amaze me the what those drums look like. And never was like, oh, don't mind the drums. I'm like, I understand that drums aren't going to be the prettiest thing in the world. They're like, don't.
No.
And but seeing those heaters on there and open them up, everything, it's an experience.
Yeah, we've got we've got big blanket wraps that will heat but they're temp controlled. I mean, some of them aren't. You're just stuck with whatever temp. But yeah, each of those blanket control things, I think cost us. I think they're more like $1,500 a piece now.
I was gonna say, are those real drum warming blankets? Because we had used to use those in the aerospace to keep our hydraulic fluid from getting too cold.
Oh, okay, cool.
Yeah, so
they're pretty much the same thing, but ours have a temperature control there. I can set I think anywhere from about 85 to 180 degrees if I wanted to.
That's freaking awesome. And like I said, it never ceases to amaze me, all the technology and all the cool stuff that you get to see when you go into the inner workings of a meadery.
Yeah. Yeah, no, those work well. Our biggest early expense and probably the biggest argument my husband and I had was I came in one day and said, I think, okay, we're ordering all of our stuff before we opened and before we made anything. And I said, well, I think we need these honey pumps to pump our honey in, and it was like $3,600 for the pump. And he says, well, I think we can just heat this up and scoop it in 5-gallon buckets and carry it and put it in the tank. And I'm like, well,
5 divides into 1,300.
yeah, well, and not only that, it would be more like 3 or 4 gallons at a time, because 5 gallons of honey weighs 40,
50 pounds.
50 to 60 pounds. Actually, it's about 12 pounds a gallon, so 60 pounds. And I looked at him and I said, and we have to go to put it into our mixing tank. You got to go up a 3-4 prong ladder.
Yup.
I'm like, and who's carrying that up there? You have a bad back, and I don't think I can lift more than maybe 30 pounds. But then all those trips of that, that's gonna slow me down. Yeah,
Right.
like, okay, yeah, whatever. I walked away and ordered it. That was the end of that. I was like, I don't care.
Honey
I'm
pump.
not doing that. You're not doing that. Yeah, we're ordering this. And so, but he will agree now that that's probably one of our better, because you can empty with that pump. I can empty about 10 to 15 minutes to empty a 55-gallon drum of honey.
And is that like a submersible sump style where you just drop it in and it just pumps it out?
Nope, we have an attachment on the end that's metal and goes into there, and
Gotcha.
then just pumps it up. You have one hooks to one end and sucks out the other, and
Yep.
sends it up into the tank. But
Oh. Well, unfortunately, I am running up against some time restraints here, but I appreciate your time. If you have about 1-2 more minutes, I do have some rapid fire questions for you real
Sure.
quick. So first thing you think about or do when you get up in the morning?
coffee,
Hot or cold?
hot,
Uh, Pizza or tacos?
tacos,
Turn signals?
always, even on a gravel road when nobody's behind me.
That seems to be a pretty common one. So if you weren't a mead maker, what would you do?
Retire.
Retire. Yeah, you were supposed to be retiring, right?
Well, I'd probably get my house more clean.
My name's Susan Ruud, and I am
I don't know, fun person. I don't know. I'm a mead maker.
I'm a mead maker. That's a fantastic and perfect answer. Well, thank you, Susan, for being here with me today. And anybody who hasn't checked them out, go check them out on all the social media. Prairie Rose Meadery out of Fargo, North Dakota. Go buy some mead from them online. Help support them. Go stop in their tasting room. Check out their cool draft meads that they have going now that we aren't fortunate enough to have shipped out yet. Maybe someday in the future, we'll be able to ship those draft meads. But until now, or for now, stop in and pick that stuff up. Send me a comment. Let me know how it is. Again, thank you very much, Miss Susan, for being here tonight.
Yeah, well, thank you for having me. It was fun visiting with you, TK.
Yes, and definitely do something in the future as well.
All right.
Have a good evening. Thank you.
Yep. Good night.
Night.